This is Logical Logistics, where we cover shipping, supply chain, logistics, and everything in between. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. This is Joe Becht, Logical Logistics. And today we have, once again, our international expert, Jennifer Zelinski. Jennifer, how are you doing today?
I'm well, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing well. So today we want to talk about step-by-step process of shipping internationally.
Sounds great.
So Jennifer, I'm just a customer calling in, new customer, let's put it that way. And I want something shipped to Singapore. Guide me. Guide me in a step-by-step. Because I think a lot of people go about that way when we get our inquiries online at BES Logistics and bellair.com. It's a lot of inquiries like that. Some are seasoned veterans, and other people are just like, hey, I need something to go from Los Angeles to Hong Kong or England, New York to England. So you deal with that all the time. So guide us along step by step from beginning to end.
Okay. So the first thing I do is I ask if they know how they want it to go out. Do they want it to go air or do they want it to go ocean? And then they'll tell me the next step is we need pieces, weight, dimensions, and we need to know what the commodity is. I know a lot of people don't always want to say what the commodity is, but the commodity is a huge informational piece where most carriers won't even quote a price without knowing what they're quoting. There's certain items that are banned in certain countries and they just can't leave the US. Or there's certain items that are banned to come into the US. So we always need to know what we're shipping. The size of the piece matters because if we're putting it on an airplane, if it's over 63 inches tall, then it can only go on a cargo aircraft. It can't go on a passenger aircraft. And we need to know those things because not every destination has a cargo airplane that goes there. Especially now with COVID, airlines are not flying their typical schedules. They're not sending as many flights. Sometimes flights are canceled at the last minute. So those are all very pertinent details that we need to know just in order to quote a shipment. The next step is if the customer would like to go through with the shipment and they've never worked with Bellair, we would have them fill out a Bellair credit app and then do a background check, just seeing that they're a valid company and they've been around for a while. If it's air freight, they have to be a known shipper. If they're not a known shipper, we have to make them known in the TSA database. If it's ocean freight, we just get a rate. Pretty much they take anything. We can do LCL. If it's a small shipment, we can do a 20-foot container. If it's 15 cubic meters or less, we could do a 40-foot container. So it really just depends on how the customer would like their shipment to be routed.
Okay. Then the next question, obviously you have to ask what type of, what's being shipped, because there's a lot of.
Right, that's what's considered the commodity.
Right.
So typically when we say, what's the commodity is what the product is that we're shipping. Hazardous shipments are a little bit different than general commodities, perishable commodities. So it just depends on what the commodity is and where it's going. Certain items like electronics, we have to have pre-authorization. If it were going to go to Colombia or Brazil, we have to have permission from their government in order to send any electronics into their country. So again, it depends on the commodity and the size and where it's going. So each country has its own set of rules and what can be imported. If it's going to go air freight, there's a passenger flight or there's a cargo plane, which decides, what the height of your commodity depends on what kind of plane it could go on. So there's several different ways to configure if you want air freight or ocean freight.
Okay. And then there's going to be terms as far as what type of service is needed, correct?
Correct. It is called Inco Terms, and Inco Terms are the deciding factor between the shipper and the customer, and how they work out who is going to pay for what and at what location they're going to pay for the goods. So if the goods were shipping from the US and they were shipping from the customer's warehouse to the airport or port of destination, that's what we would consider Ex Works charges, EXW. That means that the shipment will be paid from the shipper's door all the way to the destination airport or LCL or FCL ocean port. If it were an FOB shipment, free on board, that means that the shipper has to deliver the goods to our warehouse. Sometimes people call it FCA, free carrier. So everyone has their own definition, even though there are guided definitions of what each Incoterm means. People interpret them in their own understanding. So a lot of times we'll ask our customers, okay, are you paying from your door to their door, including duties and taxes, or are you just paying from your door to their door and they have to pay clearance with duties and taxes? Or are you paying just door to airport or airport to airport or port to port? So that is where we come in when some people don't know how to ship and they don't understand the Incoterms. We have to ask questions in layman terms so that everyone's on the same page and there's no miscommunication about who's paying for what.
Yeah. So, I think a lot of people get very intimidated when they have to ship international. What are the main differences between shipping something internationally and shipping something domestically?
Great question. So international and domestic, regardless, we need to know what the pieces, the weight, and the dimensions are. And then again, what the commodity is, because even if we're shipping domestically, different truckers won't handle certain commodities, or the value may be more, and that depends on the truck and the insurance. So the main difference shipping international versus domestic is with international, different countries have different rules and regulations, just as if you were going to import something into the US. We have to make sure that we adhere by the guidelines of that country and what they allow into their country and what rules they have in order to allow the commodities to come into their country. So, again, like I said, certain airplanes, if it's cargo freight, and it has to be on a freighter and it can't fly on a passenger flight. Some countries don't allow cargo planes. Some airlines don't have cargo planes into those destinations, so it would have to go ocean freight. It just really depends on the country, what their rules are, what their guidelines are, and we have to follow those. If we were to ship, let's say, a suitcase of an actor's wardrobe from California to New York, we really don't have to follow those guidelines. We know what the US entails, and we're just shipping it on an LTL truck from California to New York. Or if we put it on a passenger plane from LA to New York, it has to be a certain weight and a certain size in order to get it on that passenger plane. So the difference again between international and domestic is there are a lot of rules and regulations and laws that we have to follow in order to export out of the US and import into a foreign country.
Okay. Now, a lot of people, when they ship, they are very intimidated by the duties and taxes. What
Yes.
can you fill us in on that, and especially to ease, so people are educated when they ship what they expect and what's the best route for them to take when they ship something overseas.
So again, that kind of brings us back to the Inco Terms, and where a customer, one of our customers, needs to work out the payment arrangements with their customer. Duties and taxes are what is paid to the governments when product arrives from outside their country. So in the US, we cannot add any profit onto duties and taxes. Those duties and taxes are paid directly to the US government if it's an import into the US. The duties are paid directly to the government from the customs broker as they're clearing the freight. Then the customs broker will invoice Bel Air the duties and taxes, in turn charging the customer. Duties and taxes are assumed by the commodity, which is called an HTS code or a harmonized code or your Schedule B number. There's 3 different terms for your commodity, your product, what you're shipping or what you're importing. And then it's also based on the value of the goods. So the customs brokers, which are the ones that are highly schooled in figuring out and knowing what harm codes will apply over to what commodity, that will determine on how much you will pay in duties and taxes, whether exporting to another country or importing into the US.
Okay. Now, what do you say to a new customer when they ship, and they have the inquiry to ship about internationally? What's your best introduction to them as far as what get the ball rolling and tell them how to move forward?
Sure. So obviously, I introduced Bel Air, our all of our employees, how long we've been in business, what we do, and I personally have handled operations since 2005. And then when I started at Bel Air, I started doing sales. So I have a lot of background in international shipping, domestic shipping, and warehousing, cross-docking, border crossings. So I explain our history, my personal history, and then we figure out what kind of shipping they want to do. So we figure out if they have domestic, how we can help, if they have air imports or air exports, or they want to save some money and they have time, they'll do an LCL shipment. If they have a lot of freight and they don't want to pay the high expensive air freight, we might buy a 20-foot container, 40-foot container space and ship it that way. Depending on where it's going out of the US, it can take 30 to 60 days from door to port in a full ocean container. For LCL shipment, it can take a little bit longer because once it reaches the port on an LCL container, it has to go to a CFS station and then the freight has to be unloaded, and then the freight forwarder can pick it up. So we would just determine what they're shipping, how long they have, how quickly or how slowly, how much, if they want to spend a lot of money to ship it air freight, or if they want to spend a little money and they have a lot of time to ship it ocean freight. And then we talk about the Inco terms and who pays for what. We go over what's required on commercial invoices and packing lists. And then I explain to them that we have to go overseas and make sure that we have approval to send it to the destination country. And as soon as we have the permission to send it overseas, we send full details, whether it be ocean details, airline details, and we give up-to-dates pretty much daily on the regular, just letting the customer know, okay, we've received your freight. Your freight's going on this flight. That flight has departed. That flight has landed. The agent overseas has picked up the freight and it is delivered to your customer.
All right,
So
great.
we just walk them through step by step of every detail of how the shipment works.
In your experience, what's the most complicated or interesting shipment that you've encountered?
Well, let's say my longest standing customers that have come with me to Bel Air, a lot of people think they're interesting. We ship different animal derivatives. So those are all sent overseas to be manufactured into other products, and some of them come back as finished products. So I would say they're probably my most interesting customer that I've had throughout the 16 years that I've been in this industry. I've done dog food. We've done hot dogs. You name it. People want all kinds of crazy things shipped.
Yeah,
And everyone has a different idea of what's silly and what's not.
exactly. So, Jennifer, what's the best way for someone to find you and contact you?
They can email me either at my personal email, which is jennifer@belair.com, or if they wanted to reach out to our group email, Eric and Angela can always assist with domestic and international shipments as well. We have chicago.ops@belair.com. That's CHICAGOOPS@belair.com. Or you can reach me on my cell phone at 815-262-9531.
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Joe. Have a great day.
You too. We'll talk again soon.
All right, thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. If you want to drop us a line, email us at becht5@comcast.net. You can leave comments, or if you want to be a guest, becht5@comcast.net. Also, make sure to review us on iTunes or other media outlets that we're located on. And we'll see you next time on Logical Logistics.
Click the subscribe button for new videos every week and download us and review us on iTunes. Visit www.beslogistics.net for more logistics, transportation, and warehousing resources. Thanks for watching.